If you've ever opened up your cabinets and it feels like there's nothing in there and you need some new ideas, that is exactly why we are making this video series. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross and this is Across Legacy. We have over 800 videos here on the channel. They all started with produce way back in the beginning when I went viral teaching some of my produce tips, which landed me a TED Talk and becoming a best-selling author. But there's so much that happens in the kitchen that can help save you money on groceries. And today we're going to be focusing on some of those pantry items that you just don't think about very much. I'm honestly not somebody that loves to bake bread. I know how to bake bread, but it's not one of my favorite things to do. We have went through two major financial struggles in our lives, and one of the times is when I was a brand new parent. Actually, the day that I found out that I was pregnant with number 2, my husband got laid off from his job. And all of a sudden, we didn't have an income coming in, and we had to figure out things that we had in our cupboards and how to make items. And it was before the internet. So with the little one at home, I had to learn how to make muffins and pancakes and different things with those ingredients that I had at home already. And so often lately, I've had moms that message me saying, can you give me 10 different meals I can make to stretch it till payday? And I have $50 to spend, and my first question always is, what do you have in your cabinets? Because things like flour and salt, sugar, butter, they might not look like very much when you're looking in your cabinets, but you can make so many different things with them. And over the last 15 years now, we have become allergy parents and dealing with allergies in our family, which also included being gluten-free while our kiddo was home. So our kids are now grown and flown out of the house, but while they were here, I was a gluten-free mom and learning how to make everything. But I'm still having to check packages on everything to make sure that they're safe ingredients that I'm bringing into the house. With that decision to try to cut back on the ingredients that we brought into our house to make sure that they were allergy friendly, I also found out that as I was bringing in the single ingredient items and making things, it was so much cheaper than buying things that were already packaged. And the one thing I never want anybody to hear me say or feel judged about the way that you bring food into your house. So I'm just teaching some skills that I've learned over the years that have worked for my family, but a fed family is best however you need to do it. I also work full-time and deal with a chronic illness, so I understand not feeling like wanting to make something or just not feeling up to it. But when I do have the energy and the time to make something, I try to make enough that I can put extra in the freezer that I can pull out whatever I'm making again later, and that way it's one mess and we can have it for multiple meals. And I do that with all sorts of items, whether it's pancakes or biscuits or making rolls. I put some away in the freezer and then we can have it another day. Since our family size is smaller now, when I make things like rolls, I make sure that I put these in the freezer and then I can have them rise and bake them when we're ready to use them. So when I'm thinking about baking essentials, I'm not just thinking about baking cookies with my favorite littles or the memories I made with baking cookies with my grandma, but I'm also thinking about the different things that I can have food security in our home, and having these baking essentials is one of those things to really help bring peace to know that I can make a meal at any time. Today I'm going to teach you some basic flour tips to how to store flour and to get it to last a little bit longer so you can have that peace of mind knowing that you have flour in your house. And as this year progresses, we're going to post more and more recipes that are just basic ingredient recipes that you can make at any time. And with these ingredients, you can make really simple things like making bagels that goes together in just a few minutes, and that is such a nice thing to have on hand. Now, I know fresh milled flour is the best way to get the nutrients into your body, but when we're talking about just making sure that your family is fed, we're going to talk about all-purpose flour today. Normally the goal for flour when you bring it into your house is to use it up within 18 months. So normally I am stocking up flour in the winter time and trying to by the next winter to use it. So I focus on having quality ingredients in our house, and I do try to have ingredients that are organic as possible most of the time. I love getting this organic Kirkland brand flour at Costco. This is a really great quality of flour that a lot of bread bakers use. But anytime that you're bringing home flour, you want to put it in your freezer for 3 days. And that will make sure that it doesn't have any weevils in your flour, and it will kill them if there are any in there. So after 3 days of being in the freezer, you want to make sure it comes back to room temperature. And then if you store it in glass, it will stretch out the shelf life of it. So instead of 18 months, it's going to give you 2 to 3 years. I still try to use it within that 18-month mark, but that way you also don't have to worry about any pantry moths, if you live in an area that has pantry moths, getting into your flour also. For me, I like to have half-gallon jars in my kitchen pantry, and that way they're really easy for me to hold and they're not too heavy. But you can't get a measuring cup down into them, so sometimes you have to just pour it out a little bit, or a quarter of a cup will fit through that opening. The gallon-sized jars do have a 4-inch opening, so you can put a half a cup measuring cup or a full cup measuring cup in there, and it makes it a lot easier, but it does get kind of heavy with all the flour in it. If you are storing for more than 2 years, you want to make sure it's a metal lid and not a plastic lid on it. Either one of these will make sure that you don't have any pantry moth issues in your kitchen. I was able to get this organic all-purpose flour for 20 pounds of it. It came in 2 bags. It was around $16 when I got it at Costco. And that was a really great price for being able to get organic flour. And as I was scrolling back through the pictures on my phone, I have the hardest time saying Bob's Red Meal, but that is the kind of gluten-free flour that I buy when my kiddo is home and I'm cooking for them. So I normally get the 1-to-1 gluten-free flour, and I had a picture on my phone that was a couple years old, so it's probably a lot more expensive now, for a 1-pound bag of flour that was $8 and something. So it showed the Walmart tag on there and how much it cost. But I buy 25 pounds at a time, and I get it through Amazon. So right now the current price on that would be $3.20 per pound. So if you are gluten-free or an allergy mom and you are trying to get the best price, it is worth it to buy it in bulk. And then normally that 25-pound bag goes into about 4 gallon-sized jars. I was doing a lot of cooking with almond flour right when I became diabetic because it's supposed to be better for diabetics, but I found that I actually have allergic reaction or some sensitivity to almonds when I eat too many of them. So I've kind of scaled back from that, but I do have some recipes on the blog when I was using the almond flour, but I've kind of pushed back from that a little bit. But the almond flour does have a little bit of protein in it, and it is a little bit better for diabetics. And that being said, with me being diabetic, I have learned to now add protein into the things that I'm making. And so that way it helps balance out all of the ingredients in there, and I don't have a glucose spike like I used to. So you'll see a lot of the recipes that I post have either Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or like a protein powder in it. And that is because it's what's best for me, and I like being able to share recipes that are working. So the next time you're looking in your pantry, look for things that are pantry essentials that you should have, which we'll put a list down in the description to kind of start checking off some of those boxes. But things like flour, salt, baking powder, baking soda, making sure you have some sort of oil or butter and some sort of sweetener will help you be able to make a variety of different things. There's also a lot of different things that you can substitute for eggs and oil if you are needing to swap out some ingredients. So we will put some tips for those in a blog post that will also be linked in the description. But the next time you think about the flour in your cabinet, remember you can make bagels or English muffins or pretzels really easy, and you don't have to wait hours for them to rise. You can use the flour to thicken up either sauces or make gravy really easy. We like making pizza dough here and making it homemade, which is really fun. There's multiple different ways that you can use these basic ingredients and fill up any slack that you have in your groceries. So when you start looking into your pantry and looking at these ingredients, start looking at them in a new light. They're not just to make cookies or thinking that you have to spend all day baking bread. There are so many recipes that you can do that take just a few minutes to prepare. From making pretzels and biscuits and cookies and pancakes, all kinds of different things. One of our favorites is making homemade pizza dough, and then we can personalize it to every person. These are all things that you can make pretty quickly, and you don't have to spend all day kneading dough. Make sure you're signing up for the newsletter. That link is in the description, and that is where we're going to send out the newest recipes as we make them.